What is it like to work with Alan as a director? Actually,
I'm gonna go somewhere else.
He can go. Yeah, leave. He just walked away. He can't stand this.
People talking about it, yeah.
Adorable.
Still rolling, and it's just from, you'll understand like I do.
Okay.
So, Jono, you're yep. Jono, you're about right there.
Very well. Do you want that again?
Yeah, let's do it again. Okay, from the top. Here we go. And Zippy's out.
Working with Alan is awesome. He is a collaborator through and through, but also one of those directors that has a really clear vision, and that's what you want.
And 3, 2, 1, action.
He knows where he's going, but he values the other people that he's working with, their input on getting there.
So knowing Alan for as long as I've known Alan, we create this trust with each other, right? One thing I love about Alan is very much a collaborator. He surrounds himself with talented people, which is what I love to do. I surround myself with talented people that make me look better. He does the same thing. He surrounds himself with talented people that make him look better.
It's really fun working with someone who respects the process of making music and is not just throwing it in there because they need it technically, but because they love it and they want it in there. It just has this great attitude about it and this fun energy. It's also really good to work with someone like Alan who has an idea of what he's looking for up front and can communicate that, but also allows me the freedom to kind of go off on my own, play with it a little bit, see where my inspiration takes me, and then bring it back to him and get really good feedback about it. And it just feels like a really good collaborative process.
Well, here's the thing, like, it's aligned, right? Because I've definitely worked with people who are great collaborators, almost to a fault, in that, you know, they're not guiding the project sometimes. That's fine, but you need a captain. All of these creative people bring a lot of creative ideas to the table, and somebody's got to choose. Somebody's got to know where we're actually headed with it. And from my experience working with Alan, he does exactly that. He wants to know your opinion, but if he disagrees, very kindly, he disagrees. And it's such a really wonderful, I still feel appreciated, even if we're tweaking something and it's going in the direction that I wasn't leaning to at first.
Generally speaking, Alan and I do think a little bit differently, but that doesn't necessarily mean there needs to be conflict. And so with our relationship, I can share my opinions and thoughts. And sometimes he's like, oh, it's a great idea, let's do that. And sometimes it's like, well, I had this other thought. So ultimately, I'm grateful for Alan being super collaborative, but when it comes down to, if we come to a head on something, I just give up to and trust him. He wants to do it this way. There's a reason he's doing it this way. He's thought about it forever. And so there's that trust on both sides. I trust him, he trusts me. And I think by trusting each other that way, having that relationship for as long as we have, allows us to collaborate a lot better.
Alan is always directing, so working with him as a director versus a friend is the exact same thing. Like, even when you're just talking to him like a normal person, he's trying to find a way to direct you or direct the scene of some way. So it's actually the same Alan all the time. He now just has like the authority and the power where he feels like I'm actually going to listen to him, which in real life I probably wouldn't. But no, he actually was fantastic. I loved how he thinks about everything, every moment. Like, Alan gives everything so much thought that it was just so refreshing to be like, oh, I don't have to be like, why is he giving me this direction, or what is this? I know he saw it through, and there's a lot of trust there, actually.
So to have that freedom, to have that trust, to just do what I do best, you can't ask for anything better as a creative professional.
No matter how late it got, no matter how tired he was, he's never really in a foul mood. Like, there might be times he would get a little annoyed, because during our downtime, we're just goofing off, and he's like, guys, we're trying to focus here. Now I'm gonna throw a burrito at David's crotch. I know him well enough to know he's getting tired. I know him well enough to know, like, okay, he's not appreciating that it's 3 in the morning, and instead of just getting the shot done, we're joking around between takes, you know? But he never let it show. And I love that about him. It's a delicate balance, because I think if you go too far to I'm in charge, then you're a dictator. Too far to letting go of the reins, then it's just chaos. So it's hard to thread that needle where everyone feels respected.
So I shadowed Alan pretty heavily for most of the process. I think really what I learned was just like, I think there's a fine line between being professional and being like, in this case, he's the father of one of the actors and like best friends with the other one. But I think there's still like a line to draw, and I think he does that very well, where it's like, we need to be professional. which is something that I've thought a lot about, to like know my actors and like really, you know, have like a bond so we can communicate in the best possible way while still being professional. I think I saw a lot of that. That was helpful to see in action.
Was it pretty weird being directed by your dad? Or?
No, because he tells me what to do a lot. Because I get in trouble a lot, and yeah, it's fun.
I think one of the biggest things to understand in the film business is to be respectful to everybody. Alan and I first met where he was my camera PA. Cut to 12 years later, he's now directing a film that I'm shooting for him. When you can respect all those that you work with, you never know where that person's gonna be. One day you're camera PA, next day he's directing the film you're working on.
I don't know if it's the years of working with cinema therapy and with his fan base, but he's got the air of a very experienced director, even though I know that the height of his career is ahead of him. So to see this foundation, how well he has guided this project to its conclusion, the warm atmosphere that he has created with the crew, I would really, really love to work with him a lot more in the future.
At the end of the day, I feel like you're bringing people on to facilitate the vision of the director, but to also bring a part of themselves into the film. And to have all these talents come together to make something that is hopefully better than what Alan envisioned from the beginning. That's the fun of filmmaking.
Alan is a white man. I will work with him again because he will get me ahead. He's a diva. He's the actual worst. I have to keep working with him. And then one day I'm going to usurp him. Not like at his company, but just like in life, and be better than him.
And cut. We'll do that one more time.